All right, today we're going to jump into Psalm 8. It's this incredible ancient song written by the shepherd poet David. And what's so powerful about it is how it looks at the stunning majesty of God, but also at the surprisingly dignified role that we, humanity, get to play in the grand scheme of things. So, let's take a look. You know, to really get this psalm, just picture it. You're out on a clear night, miles away from any city lights, just looking up. You see all those stars, and you get that feeling, right? That mix of total awe and wonder, but also maybe this sense of being, well, incredibly small. That feeling right there, that is the beating heart of this poem.
So the psalm kicks right off by just focusing on that overwhelming grandeur. This isn't a poem that's asking for anything or complaining about something. Nope. It is a pure hymn of praise, just celebrating a universe that is absolutely bursting with glory.
Okay, and here's something really cool about how this psalm is built. It starts and ends with the exact same line. Now, that's not just lazy repetition. It's a poetic frame, like bookends for the whole piece. It's there to remind us, from start to finish, that the main idea here is God's majesty, filling up the entire earth.
But right at the beginning, the psalmist introduces this really surprising idea. It's a concept that completely flips our normal ideas about power right on their head.
I mean, just look at this verse. It puts the weakest people imaginable, children and infants, up against the strongest opposition, the enemy. And the claim here is that God actually uses this simple, seemingly insignificant praise of a child to shut down powerful foes. So, what in the world is going on with that?
Well, this points to a huge idea you see all over the place in Scripture. You could call it divine inversion. The idea is that God's power isn't about flexing the biggest muscles or using brute force. Instead, it works through what the world sees as humble or small. In this view, the simple, honest praise from a kid has more real power than all the raging of an enemy.
All right, so after setting up God's incredible majesty, the poem makes a sharp turn. It pivots from this huge cosmic view down to a deeply personal question about us, about humanity. The writer puts us right back under that night sky. He's taking in the sheer scale of the universe, the moon, the stars. And I love this detail. He calls it all the work of God's fingers. Like it's this delicate, intricate piece of art. And standing there in the face of all that vastness, he asks a question.
And it's a question that just has to come up when you're looking at an infinite cosmos, right? In the grand scheme of all this, why would the creator of everything even notice us? Why would he be mindful of these tiny beings on this one little planet?
Now, you might expect the answer to be something like, well, you're not that important. But that's not what we get. The psalmist delivers this absolutely stunning reversal. The answer isn't about how insignificant we are, it's about our incredible God-given significance.
The psalm lays out our honored status in 3 steps. First, humanity is made just a little lower than heavenly beings, or angels. Second, we are crowned with glory and honor. I mean, that's royal language right there. And finally, we are made rulers, or you could say caretakers, over the works of God's hands.
But, and this is so crucial to get, being crowned as a ruler isn't some blank check for arrogance or a license to just take what we want. It's the exact opposite. It's the handing over of a profound responsibility. It's a call to act on God's behalf here in the world.
So, what does this responsibility actually look like? This brings us to the really practical side of our role, what we're actually called to do with this honor we've been given.
And the psalm gets super specific. It lists what's been placed under our care. Domestic animals like sheep and oxen, all the wild animals, the birds in the sky, and everything that lives in the sea. It paints this amazing picture of humanity as stewards who have been entrusted with the well-being of the entire planet's ecosystem.
And that gets us to the core concept of stewardship. The rule that humanity is given is meant to mirror God's own good and benevolent care. It's a call to manage, to cultivate, and to protect creation wisely, not to just exploit it carelessly for our own purposes.
And this is the beautiful balance that Psalm 8 gives us. In a world that can make us feel either puffed up with pride or totally crushed by how small we are, this psalm just grounds us. On the one hand, no, we are not the center of the universe. God's majesty is. But on the other hand, we are not meaningless specks either. We are crowned with glory and given a noble purpose.
So we end up right back where we started, in awe of a majestic creator. But now we have a much clearer picture of our place within that creation. And the psalmist leaves us with a personal challenge. It's a question that reaches from those ancient fields right into our modern lives. Knowing your honored place and your profound responsibility, how are you going to care for your corner of creation?